Hey there, fabulous ladies. Welcome to Bring Back Your Pink, where we celebrate the fabulousness of midlife and beyond. I am Jen B, your host, your biggest fangirl and impact-driven entrepreneur living my biggest and boldest life, so you can too. Get ready to leave behind societal expectations and embrace a life filled with laughter, joy, and endless possibilities. So stand tall, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the world of living life in full color. Together, we'll rediscover the power of being unapologetically ourselves, and we will release our inner vibrancy, and together, we will bring back our pink. Let's make every moment count, girls. Hello, beautiful ladies. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches many lives: divorce. But hold on, this is not a gloomy discussion. No way. We're here to explore how divorce can actually be the golden ticket to reinventing yourself, finding your true path, and living a life that's authentically yours. I have an incredible guest today, Becca Maxwell. She's been on before, but we've come back now to discuss how you can turn life's lemons into sweet lemonade. Becca is a divorce coach, and this is what she does. So whether you're going through a divorce, you have a friend in that situation, or you simply want to be inspired by stories of resilience and transformation, you are in the right place today. Get ready to open your heart to possibilities because we are about to unleash a wave of positivity, self-discovery, and empowerment. Welcome, Becca. I am so excited to have you back with me today. Divorce is such a touchy subject, and it's a subject and a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But, there's so much help out there and something that, you are doing and stepping forward into your power to help ladies, through this time that is so tough. And sometimes we can actually find, like myself personally, that getting divorced is such an opportunity for personal growth and change.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I love that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I would like to start off with what are some of the common challenges that people are going to face through that divorce, and how
Yeah.
can they actually transform them into opportunities to actually transform themselves?
Okay. Jen, thanks for having me back. I loved our first conversation. You're like, we need to follow up on this, and I'm really happy to be here. So
I'm
thanks.
so glad you're here because, it is a topic that people, somebody say, oh, that you're getting divorced, and then you don't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
People shut down, like,
they
oh,
do.
it's almost like wanting to avoid the what am I trying to say? The infection of it. Oh
Yeah,
no, I don't want that. Oh, you've got COVID, stay away. Oh, you've got a divorce. Oh, get out of my
yeah,
way.
like it's like that old thing, where you wouldn't invite the divorcee along to the party because she might try and get onto everyone else's husbands, which of course
Yeah.
is ridiculous. But it can be like that when actually it is such a massive opportunity to transform and change.
And to be honest with you, that's the more common story than the other. Like you asked me about the common challenges, and there's a few, and one of them is that lonely period between it's happening, it's definitely, unreconcilable. We are not getting back together. And that kind of lonely period to, okay, but this is who I am now. I'm comfortable with this. And I say it's lonely because of exactly what we just mentioned, right? You might not get invited to the parties anymore, or you had friends in common, and you had intertwined social groups, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden one of you gets dropped, so you've got half as many invites that you used to
Yeah.
have. But the biggest challenge, honestly, is the blank space, the blank canvas now that is in front of you, because what you imagined your future to be is no longer an option. And we don't go into a marriage with backup ideas. We
No.
might have thought, in our 20s or 30s, we might have thought, if I'm single in my 40s and 50s, then I'm going to open a bookshop, and it'll be a cafe, and it'll be in a nice little country town, and I'll
Yeah.
meet them a lumberjack and live
Hmm.
happily ever after. But that's not a plan, and it's not something that we hold on to as we're getting married. So as
Oh.
the marriage dissolves, there's this big blank canvas of like, oh shit, that future I thought I was going to have for myself is not my future anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like everything gets erased, and I have to start from scratch figuring out what that looks like. That I would say is the single biggest challenge. And it can make a lot of us freeze. It can send you into a fight or flight mode, which is like I'm going
Yeah.
to fight for exactly what I already have because, I'm going to let's just talk about those, right? Those responses. Fighting against the idea of this blank canvas would be fighting to hold on to what you had in the marriage, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm still going to have the holiday home that we've had together. I'm still going to have the family home. I still want the car. I'm going to fight and hold on to everything. Then the next option is flight. Nope. All right, I'm going to burn it all down and leave. And you and I know a story of a particular divorcee, Mel Brown.
Hmm.
She
Hmm.
left her husband. He said, "You'll be nothing without me." And so she gave it all to charity, right? She gave it all away and had nothing
Hmm.
and had to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
So that's like the flight, right?
Hmm.
All down, I'll start from scratch. And then the last one, which I think is more common, is the freeze.
Yeah.
You're feeling like, I don't know how to make decisions moving forward. I don't know how, like, what am I supposed to do? What does life look like? Should I hold on to the home? Should I move out? Like,
It's it's super tough. Like I remember, back when my ex left, and I really was only working like, about 1 day, 2 days a week because I didn't have to work, anymore. And then I'm like, well, what? Yeah, like it's like that blank canvas. What am I going to do?
yeah,
What
yeah.
am I going to do? Like,
And
we're
that
like,
is the biggest opportunity. So you asked me like, what is
yes,
the challenge and how do we see that as an opportunity? At the time, you probably don't see it as one because
no,
it
you
is
do not.
overwhelming. It just feels too big. So let's break it down into, smaller days, but it is absolutely the opportunity to reinvent. I actually prefer perhaps the word rediscover,
Yeah, I like rediscover.
right? Because this is the opportunity that we no longer have to compromise any of it. You
No.
don't have to eat the meals that you had to compromise on because that's what he likes to eat and that's what you've chosen together. You get to make those decisions and rediscover what you like. So instead of being terrified of this big blank canvas and like, I don't know what 10 years from now looks like, or I don't know what retirement looks like, or I don't know what 5 years looks like, let's just break it down into what does today look like? What does next week look like? Um, and I love the idea of like making it super, super, super simple. What do I no longer have to compromise on that I
Yeah.
wasn't doing? How can I bring back more of what I quite liked? I can watch whatever I want on television now. I
Yes.
can do rom-coms for days. I can spend time with the friends that he didn't really like.
100%.
I can go to art galleries now. I didn't find space for that because that's not how we spent our time. We'd go off to the beach together or whatever. But so it's more of a rediscovery. What did I used to like doing?
Yeah.
Leaning into that and seeing what sticks and exploring and rediscovering. And it's a really lovely time.
It is a really lovely time. Like I was saying to you earlier, that I was at a retreat recently and
Yeah.
I was sitting there in this incredible place in Noosa, feeling all the feels that I was there and, how lucky was I that I had this life. And then I was just filled with gratitude for my ex for leaving me because
Uh,
I know that if we were still together, I would not now have the life that I have. And I'm so grateful for that. Yes, it's taken time, because, we live in the world of, often when we're married, of what we think we should do.
yeah.
But yes, we do get to rediscover who we were meant to be in the first place. And that's a really big thing of mine is the rediscovery. It's
Absolutely.
you've heard me speak on this. Yeah, it's such an important thing. And instead of looking at it as a finish, I like to now look at it as a beginning.
Yeah, for sure. And us as work in progress, we're constantly evolving. The other thing is, when I say rediscovery, it's not let's go back to who you were pre-marriage at
Yeah,
all, right? Because we have evolved so significantly since,
exactly.
regardless of how long the marriage was, the fact that it's over, you have definitely changed as a human from that moment that you walked down the aisle or you signed the
Hmm.
certificate. You are evolved.
Hmm.
So it's more about rediscovering at your core what is important to you,
Hmm.
what are your values, how do you enjoy spending your time? And that's the rediscovery. It's not who was I when I was 24 and do I need to go out dancing on nightclubs again? No. Let's get rid of all of the stuff, but what's important to me? And you would have great exercises in rediscovering your values. I'm sure you do. I mean, we can talk about a really simple one now if you'd like to.
Yes, let's.
Sure. Okay. Well, this is a really, really I'm a big fan of super simple, very accessible
Yeah.
techniques that get us where we need to go, right? If anybody is struggling with not knowing what is important to me or what are my values, a really lovely technique is to think of three people or characters that you admire. And then just really think about them. And I say or characters because it doesn't have to be an actual human. It can be a person in a movie, it can be
Yeah.
a person in a book, right? So think of somebody that you really admire and think about all of the characteristics about that person that you admire. What is it about them that you think is so interesting to you or so admirable to you, right? Is it that they are bold? Is it that they are unapologetic? Is it that they are colorful? Is it, what is it about them? And do this for three different people and look at what those three people have in common. And you'll start seeing there what are your values. So for me, it'll come across as like people who are kind,
Hmm.
people who are ambitious and have achieved incredible things, people who adventure and push themselves to do wild, adventurous, unapologetically living big lives. They're my values. That's what's important to me, right? Another That's a super simple way of just finding a couple of words.
I'm actually sitting here quiet, listening to this because I love it so much. And I wish this was something that I knew about, 19 years ago when, my ex and I split up. I just fumbled through stuff, you know, I mean, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to be a bookkeeper. Like, really? Can you imagine me being a bookkeeper? I'm going to
You'd
do
be the
bookkeeping because like
best,
it's gonna,
most colorful bookkeeper I could imagine. Yes.
back in the day, I was black hair, black, all the black. But
Yeah.
it was like, I'm going to do bookkeeping because it's going to keep the family afloat. No, like you do jump from thing to thing to thing. You forget your values, you forget who you are. You're just struggling to keep your head above water. And that's such a beautiful, simple way of doing it.
And in addition to that, we can look at, well, who are three people that I really don't like?
Yes.
What is it about them that I don't like? And they help you identify your anti-values.
Yes.
It's great to have these words, but what do we mean? What do we do with them?
Yeah.
Once you know what your values are, they help you lean into activities that are aligned with those values. So kindness and generosity are really important to me. And if I have kind
Yeah,
of
me
a
too.
blank weekend ahead because my children are not around and they're with the ex-husband and I'm lonely and worried, then if I know what my values are, I can start coming up with some ideas around how to exercise,
Yes.
use my time that's aligned with that. So
Mm.
maybe I'll go and volunteer at the local charity store, or maybe I'll offer to go and read at the old age home or whatever. If kindness and generosity are important to me, how do I spend my time doing that more often?
Absolutely. And it's also something to remember too in this time is your self-care. If the kids are off with the ex-husband and you are struggling and the only thing you feel like you can do is stay in bed and read all day,
Yeah,
stay
better read
in
all
bed and read all day. You know,
100%.
it's going to be something that, and it's not sad and it's not lonely if you love to read. See, I'm a big reader. So, reading takes me to other places. So when I was separated, uh, I would read. And, I never felt sad or lonely doing that, but because I enjoyed it. And it was not something he would often say to me, like, oh,
Being lazy.
yeah, you're
Or
being
finding
lazy.
something better to do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like he was a triathlete and I am not a triathlete. And I like you would feel lazy, but it's if it's something you enjoy, there's nothing wrong with that. So go and indulge yourselves in a bath with a book, with a glass of champagne or a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever floats your boat.
I
Candles
would
burn.
add to that, even if you do feel guilty or shit about it, feel it. I just
Yes.
did a podcast episode just a couple of weeks ago on feeling all of the feelings and actually the benefit of just allowing yourself to feel them.
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling a bit sad, a bit depressed, or a bit guilty, lazy, like I'm going to stay in bed all day and I should be doing something else. Like I do feel like should just be erased from
Yeah,
all
should.
digital.
Should is not a word. We do
Yeah,
not love should.
we're not a fan of that.
We do not love should.
Um, but these feelings come if you try to push them away, if you try to fight against them, they don't lose power, they gain power.
They
It's
do.
right. So it's like taking a beach ball and pushing it under the water, and you're like, nope, not dealing with you. Going to push you down. Eventually, it's just going to explode itself up. So instead, let's deflate the beach ball and be like, oh, look at that. I'm feeling guilty. Thanks, guilt. I
Mm,
hear you, but no, thank you.
mm.
And it's quite okay to feel these things.
Yeah.
Take power away from them. And there was another question you asked me we haven't come to, but I think now I can't quite remember how you worded it, but it was something along the lines of what are the benefits of
Yep.
mm, being in this awful space?
Yes.
And we've all presumably heard uh, rock bottom,
Yeah.
right? Getting to rock bottom. Oh, I was at my rock bottom and then this happened. Or, even in Alcoholics Anonymous, you'll hear that people got to rock bottom and things got really ugly.
Mm.
And only then did they take action to change their lives.
Yeah.
So feel the feelings. Perhaps this is the rock bottom. Perhaps this is as bad as it gets. And out of that comes growth. Out of that comes change.
Yep.
Don't ask somebody to take away your rock bottom because it's a gift from which you climb out.
So my rock bottom was when Chelsea was with her dad and I just took to bed for a couple of days. I was feeling very sad and very sorry for myself and very worthless. And I'm like, you know what? You know, I might as well just be gone.
Yeah.
Um, but I won't say I soaked in those feelings and I contemplated them and then I went, right, that's not you. This is only but a fleeting moment that you're feeling now because you are at rock bottom. So now let's figure out what the fuck you're gonna do to get your life back. And that is when I went, I'm gonna go back to design and branding. I'm gonna build a business and I'm gonna buy him out of our home. And I did 12 months later, as you
And
know.
she
You
did.
know the story.
And
You
she
know,
did.
but
Okay.
it takes the rock bottom to make you go, okay, this is what I've got to do. I've got to put on this your panties. I've got to look after my mum and my daughter. How could I ever possibly think that I could leave them? Couldn't do that. So you've got to come up with some solutions, Jen. And but it was those just that like in bed, you know,
And I would
drinking,
argue that
bobbing.
you probably wouldn't have gotten to that action point
No,
had you
never.
not gotten as low as you had. And
Yeah.
that's why somebody asked me recently, how do I stop people from feeling so awful? Right? How do I stop my clients from feeling as awful as it is? I don't stop them. I sometimes sit with them in that space. I
Yeah.
make sure that they have a safe space to feel awful, but I can't rob them of their rock bottom
No,
because
you
that's not
have.
a gift. Like if I take that away from you, then you won't get inspired enough to and get that house. You won't feel inspired enough to rediscover yourself and, and have those ideas about what it takes.
And this is the thing, you have to have that like you've got to have that rock moment to go, right, this is where I'm going. And you rediscover your strength and go, I'm a strong person. This is just my now. It's not my future.
Yeah. I mean, there's a beautiful saying, this too shall pass.
Oh yes.
What I love about that is it's not just about the negative parts, right? It's not just, okay, this ugly, awful moment, this will pass, sure, but so will the great stuff. So make sure you remember it. Make sure you hold on to it and savor it and know that you can have that again because it will all pass.
There's a quote that I love too, and I often ask myself, in dark moments, oh my gosh, I'm going to get teary, but what am I going to do with my one precious life?
It's life. Yeah,
No, like, and I do get teary thinking about that because, that got me through. I'm like, I'm so blessed to be here and be alive. But
exactly.
I have to think about, what am I going to do with it? Like, I've been given a gift now.
I have a similar saying that is as inspiring to me as that was to you, which is the devil whispered in her ear, "You can't withstand the storm." And I whispered back, "I am the storm."
Oh my God, goosebumps. I love that one too.
And I've got a
Ah,
tattoo of a little lightning bolt, right? Shh, I am the storm.
I love that. I know that one. And yeah, I love that so much. And, yeah, sorry, I'm just going to dwell in this moment for a minute because, like it is, divorce really can be, and separation can be so empowering to you, for your future. And it can give you the strength to go on and do, such amazing things, can't it? Like it truly can.
100%. And look, nobody's taking away the fact that it
Oh,
fundamentally shakes your foundations. Like
totally.
it just shakes it all up.
Yep.
And it's an awful thing to have to go through
Horrible.
if it wasn't your choice, or, if you've built something that you want to hold on to,
Mhm.
unfortunately, your foundations will get shaken.
Mm.
But from that, Phoenix rise.
Oh,
So
100%. I've called myself a phoenix a lot in the past, and I'm sure you have as well. And it is true. We rise and we get all our color back. And, when we've sometimes tried, especially if it's, the partner, like it's the divorce is not your choice, often you've tried to change to keep them there, to keep the
yeah,
security that you know. Um, and then, when you can, like when they go and you go through the mourning and the grieving and all that period where, you are, and you end up at that rock bottom, you do come out and you go, right, now it's time to rise with all of my.
peel away those layers that, look, I was saying earlier about the compromises, right? You start peeling that away. Like if I was behaving differently because I was trying to keep him in the marriage, it's time to let go of that.
Yeah.
That's how I want to behave. So yeah, you're right. You start coming out of that. It's really lovely.
So
Um,
just let's talk about fear.
mm,
Fear and uncertainty. And I mean, those are real, they're terrifying feelings that come after that divorce. And what is out there like resources, support systems? Obviously, there is you, Becca.
Look, fear, let's unpack fear before we talk about the resources, because fear can be both real and imagined.
Yes.
Often it's the imagined that we spend more time with, right?
Mm,
That's where we create our anxiety. So the first thing is to create tools and create your toolkit of different go-to strategies for protecting yourself from getting sucked into imagined fear.
mm.
Um, I think I know that I shared some techniques with you last time that we were speaking, but did we talk about the circle of control and the circle of concern? I don't
I'm
think we did.
trying to remember now.
Right. So it's worth repeating, even
Yeah,
if
I
we
was
did.
going to say, let's repeat it anyway.
So I want you to think about of all of the things that could concern us, right? I might lose the house. He might take the kids. Um, I'll lose all my superannuation. I might have to pay him alimony. These are all legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily something you can control in that moment while you're getting your muesli together.
Mm-hmm.
So I want people to think about this technique as a reminder to come back to, what do I have control of right now? What actions can I take right now that have any difference? And if I can't take control of something right now, then that little item that's spinning in my head and that I'm afraid of
Mm,
needs to sit in the circle of concern. The
mm,
circle of concern is, what's going to happen with the economy? What if I lose my job? What if there's a flood? Blah, blah, blah. These are things I can't control. So that can sit in my circle of concern, and I can let that be because there's nothing I could do about it, frankly.
mm. Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll focus on what I can control. What I can control is my response, my attitude, how I spend my time, who I spend my time with. Just come back to you. What could you do right now? And if
Mm,
there's nothing you can do about that right now, then free your mind from worrying about it.
mm. Yeah, that's a really good, because it is hard to get out of our own heads. And, so often we
Especially
get,
those imagined fears, like they can
oh,
just keep, that's a fabulous DJ of awfulness. They're just
oh,
spinning more
I'm really good at
stuff.
that. Like I'm a complete catastrophizer. Like, I'm like, I have a, sore arm. Obviously, I have cancer. Like I am a
I'm
catastrophe.
having a heart attack.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think that's a great way to actually break that down and to, be able to be, self-awareness is such an important thing in this journey as well. And to be aware of the things that are like concern or fear,
Yeah,
because the concerns you can just like not pack away, but you can remove them
for
and
sure.
focus on the things that you can actually do something about.
Yeah. And when you say like remove them, it sounds like that's really hard to do. And I promise you it's not. Write a list, keep like if you, our brains are really funny. It's like they will keep bringing back what they think is important and that they don't want you to forget about it. And we allow our brains to keep doing this. So we allow it to keep coming back with these disasters. So my suggestion is just keep a list. Yes, okay, I hear you, brain. It's on my list of things to, be worried about.
Mm.
Channel it out, but get rid of it because it's not worth spending your time worrying about.
No, it's not. There's other far more important things to be concerned about.
Yeah. How
And
present can you be with your children?
yeah, exactly. But also, looking after yourself, you know, practicing self-care and self-love. Because often we come out of these situations a little bit broken, and we
Sure.
truly need to actually mindfully practice self-care and self-love. Have you got any sort of tips on any kind of, self-care or self-love that people can practice? As I said, I read, and
Yeah,
that
I
would take
find
my
it's
mind away from what my situation was.
yeah.
Um,
I find it's so individual that I don't
yeah.
necessarily have a list of these things, right?
No, it is very individual.
Yeah. So I ask people to revisit what used to make them happy, or how did they used to spend
Yeah.
their time, and like try to place themselves in places of joy. When did I experience joy? What was it about that? And what can I replicate? So that's from the self care perspective. It's like lean into that, lean
Mm.
into what makes you feel good, lean into putting your hands in the earth if that's what it is, lean
Mm.
into reading the books, lean into, finding those moments
Yeah,
of joy.
even just walking up the road to have a coffee by yourself,
Yeah.
which is probably maybe something that you've not been able to do if you've got younger children. I mean, seriously, even going to the toilet with the door open and nobody rushing in. That can be, something
Or
that brings
eating a
joy.
snack and not having to be in the bottom of the pantry with the door closed because you
Exactly.
don't want
Or
someone to.
pouring that coffee at home and drinking it while it's hot.
Yeah,
And these are
exactly.
little things that, and they're only tiny things, but they're like things you go, oh, how
Yeah.
nice is this?
Yeah. I ask people to journal on that. I definitely do. Looking after your health and well-being, making sure that there's movement, making sure that you're eating well, sleeping well. I thoroughly encourage people to cut down alcohol as much as possible.
Yeah, it is
Um,
depressant.
it's a depressant, and it also, we don't behave. the best version of ourselves. If we're being triggered, it is very hard to calm that trigger when you've got alcohol involved, right? You respond to the inflammatory text,
Yes. I was
or
going to
you,
say, we don't want to be sending texts we don't want to send after a few drinks.
right? Or hunting down their new girlfriend on social media. Like that's the shit. It's hard to stop if you've
Yes.
had a couple of drinks, and it's not helpful. So I have a couple of recommendations in that space, but I do just really want people to journal and think about, well, what have I enjoyed? Another tool, I guess, is the gratitude journal. And
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people get a bit sick of this. Well, I've had gratitude up to here, but it really is a superfood. And I'm not asking anybody to get to where you've gotten to, which was 10 years later. But
Mm.
even in the deepest, darkest moment, we can find stuff to be grateful for. I can be grateful that there's a tub of ice cream in the freezer and
Yeah.
a nice cold spoon to attack it with. Like it, you don't need to be grateful that this marriage is falling apart, but you can certainly find gratitude in every day. And the more of that you can find, the more of it will come, right? And then the more you start evolving and seeing my life is beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, I've never noticed the sun coming into the room that way before.
Yeah.
Or I've not noticed that that friend has always been there for me. And if I wasn't paying attention to the gratitude, you could have let a lot of that slide or not be observed.
Yeah.
So
And
that's super
even,
powerful.
yeah, even down to just going for a walk in your garden, looking at, the flowers. And, I had a big moment of gratitude just recently. So my mum passed 3 years ago, this coming April, and we bought an orchid. It's just flowered. 3 years
Beautiful.
later. I am not a gardener, obviously, because I could not cajole flowers out of this orchid. But Chelsea messaged me and said, Mum, Nan's orchid's flying. I'm like, oh my gosh, like flew out the front. I'm like, I can't believe it, and I felt such gratitude. Just
Yeah.
all those flowers. So it is the little things, and they're the little things that can become big things into the future.
Yeah.
Um, that like, you move on. I'm so grateful that I, can stay in this house where this garden is. I'm so grateful that I get to move to this other house that has, a view. It has the beautiful garden, whatever. Like you can always find the gratitude in the little things.
For
I'm
sure.
grateful for my dog. Not that I have a dog, but I was really grateful for my cats.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for the dog that comes and puts his head on my knee and just looks at me and says, "I love you, mummy." You
I'm
know,
grateful that I have access to so many free resources
yes,
that can keep me company in my darkest moments,
that's
right?
it.
So grateful that Jen records a podcast that offers some help.
I thought this was a really important conversation to have. Especially both of us have been through, separations, divorces, and have come out the other side with, a self-discovery journey.
And
And
beautiful lives that we're
and
very
have
proud of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so proud of my life right now. I'm so, my bestie said to me a couple of years ago, like, how remember when we were 18? We've been friends since we were 12. Remember when we were 18 and life was amazing and we were so happy and everything was awesome. Have you ever been that happy again? I'm like, yes. Now, I never thought that I would be as happy. I never thought actually I had a life that was meant for happiness, to be honest, but
Mm.
these are the things that you discover as you heal and as you grow and as you dive into yourself. Um, these things come out and you're so blessed to be able to do that. Um,
I don't think I had that version of being happy in my teens. I think my happiness has all been post-divorce. Like I
yeah,
think I'm a version of myself that likes who I am, who's, much more accepting, doesn't need the judgment of others. I'm so happy. Like just I
same.
also did a podcast episode around that, like the guilt of feeling happy. Like,
Oh,
am I allowed this now? Like are we allowed to talk about this? Well, yeah, I've decided I'm going to allow myself to do that.
so is it actually really interesting because, I will be really open. I've not had the easiest of lives. Like, I had an adopted sister that was just horrific to grow up with. My dad passed when I was 23, only a few months after we did get married. And then I was married to a narcissist,
Mm.
that literally broke me. And I was kind of like, obviously happiness is not something that's my life is meant for. I'm not meant for happiness. And then I did a guided meditation where I was surrounded by mum and dad and my cats that had passed. I'd literally lost a cat like 2 days previous to that, that I'd palliatively cared for nearly 2 years. I was very devastated, but I was surrounded with the love and, it's okay. Like, we love you, we support you. And then we did a drumming journey the next day. And I literally woke up and went, I have permission to be happy. Like, it's okay for you to be happy, Jen. Yes,
Yeah.
life has not been a bed of bed of roses without thorns. It's had plenty of thorns, but and it's okay to be happy. And that was the first step
Yeah.
in the self-discovery, that it's okay to be happy. And this stuff does not happen overnight. This is
Because
3 years of me working on this stuff.
And if there's anyone that listening, if there's anyone listening who needs permission or wants permission, like you don't need it, but you can borrow ours.
Yeah, please be happy.
Yeah.
Life is short. And for me, I look at it that I'm 55. My dad was diagnosed with his terminal illness at my age. And I think about that frequently at the moment. And I think, oh my gosh, imagine like if I was gone, at 57. And I'm like, I need to live. That's why my personal word of the year this year is live, because life is short and it's precious. And we need to get out there and just live it. And that does not mean going on fabulous trips or anything like that. It's like just being happy enough to walk up the road and have that coffee, to
Yeah.
sit on your balcony in the morning with your kids, your cats, your flowers, whatever, and just
It's
appreciate what you have.
occurred to me again, this is like a really practical, kind of coming back to the values exercise. Did you know that we are 18 times more likely to be flourishing if we are regularly exercising our strengths? Have you heard that before? So
No,
we are 9 times more likely to be flourishing if we know what our strengths are, and 18 times more likely to be
no,
flourishing if we access them and exercise them. Isn't that powerful? So
that is
this is something that I do in like in my corporate space as well as in my private coaching, helping people rediscover what their strengths are. Because a lot of us don't necessarily know what are we good at. We know what we
no.
might have been good at once. And so that in itself is a great exercise in, well, how should I be spending my time? Spend your time in ways in which you're more likely to flourish. And
Mm,
that is working with your strengths. Uh, to add to that, we have going to have more impact on our own well-being and on the people around us if we're working with our strengths than if we're improving on our weaknesses.
oh,
So
yes.
leave our weaknesses just where they are. They're just part of who we are. Maybe we're not strong at this bit, this bit, this bit. Fuck it. Let's spend more time exercising our strengths and being that version of ourselves because that's more powerful
And flourishing.
and flourishing.
Like, I know, and I mean, I know I'm talking about a lot about my experiences right now, but I've lived this and I'm just sitting here going, oh my gosh, because this is me now with what I do with my ladies in Flamazing. I help them build strong businesses. So, if life's not the fairy tale, they can,
Right.
have a business that will help them buy out their ex-husbands. And that is one of my strengths is, like I've done my, Gallup ones and it's strategy, positivity, ideation, futuristic. I think there's another one. I can't remember what it is. And they're the strengths that I draw into. And I would say now that I am absolutely flourishing.
Yeah.
Um,
Not an accident.
no, I love that.
There's the recipe to get there.
It
Hmm.
is. It is. Now,
Yeah.
any common misconceptions, about, post-divorce, the rediscovery, that you would like to talk about and
Yeah.
something that
Okay.
people might keep in their mind as they actually, dive into this journey. It's
It's so
amazing.
interesting. Like societal expectations and cultural expectations and family expectations and your social circle expectations, they all create a narrative around, it's a story that we've heard about what this is, what it's going to be.
Mm,
And it's really hard to just go, yeah, but that's not going to be my story. But that's what I absolutely encourage everybody to think about. If you've got an expectation of what divorce is, that it's going to destroy you, or that you'll have nothing and you'll be homeless in your 50s, or um, nobody will ever invite you to a barbecue because they think you're going to steal their husband. Whatever those
That's a
stories
ridiculous thing.
are, they have come from somebody else. They have come from
Yeah.
somewhere. And we all have them. So it's not that there's just one story. I guess the most common one is that divorce is bad. Divorce is ugly,
You
right?
you can't embarrass us by getting divorced. You can't get divorced,
And,
like you're going to embarrass your family.
and I also think a marriage, like a successful relationship, could be 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. Why can't we celebrate the successful relationship rather than the, oh, but it can't be successful if it ended in divorce?
Mm.
It failed marriage. Like, F that. No, it's not a
Not failed.
failed marriage. It was a successful marriage, and now two people can go off and be successful apart. So, in answer to your question, there's so many stories, and
Mm.
we all have embedded stories that come from different places. And
Yeah.
it's important to unpick that and choose your own story.
Yes.
Setting a goal for your divorce story and setting your intentions for your divorce story can be so personal and so powerful. You get to decide what
You,
your divorce is going to mean.
you get, I love, there's a saying, and it's a New Year saying, but like I'm going to use it in this too, it's the first page of a new story and you get to write it.
Right?
And
So
it's so
don't take
good.
anybody else's
No,
words around it. Don't, you can hear them and go, oh, that's interesting. My mum said that to me when I was a kid. Thanks, mum. Not helpful. This is going to be my experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on again. I knew it was a conversation I really wanted to have with you. Um,
If you get
and
any questions in your Flamazing group or any responses to this podcast, we can get on live and on a social if you like, and we can address them
actually,
directly.
that's something that's actually a really cool idea. I might just have to do that in the future. But lastly, can you offer any advice or words of encouragement for anyone that is actually just starting this journey now? The divorce is coming. It's maybe just like the separations just happen. Any words of advice that you
Gosh,
could,
so
yeah, I know. I'm like, yeah, put you on the spot with this one.
where do I start? Um, Keep in mind, I guess, that this is a journey, right? Nothing is forever. So what you're feeling right now, it will pass, and that overwhelm. So empowerment, I think, is what I would encourage.
Mm,
Empower yourself with information, empower yourself with positive people around you,
mhm,
um, empower yourself with positive thoughts, and just making that intentional decision on what you want this divorce to be,
mhm.
and empower yourself with lots of resilience techniques because this is a freaking long journey.
It is. It is a freaking long journey, and the journey doesn't even end when you meet someone else. Like, I've been remarried, which I never thought would happen, quite frankly, because I'm like, I'm never getting married again. I do not like men, you
I
know.
thought I was going to be sexless for the rest of my life.
Yeah, me
I just
too.
assumed that that was it. Like I
I was
was
going to
living
be the
in
crazy old cat
Asia.
lady.
There's no way I was ever going to have sex again.
But me too. I was gonna grow old and die. My cats were gonna eat me. But how things
But
change.
we
Oh,
fundamentally believed that, right? We
100%.
absolutely did. So we
I'm
can
like,
laugh about it
never.
now. But yeah.
And also, when you come out of a bad marriage, the worthlessness that has been, that they've created in you, you feel like that nobody would ever want you as well. Again, and, that was my feeling. But trust me, as you bloom, as you rediscover and go on this journey, your feelings of self-worth will return
Yes.
and you will begin to love yourself again. It may take time. It may take, like, this has been a very long journey for me. It may take time, but it does come back. And, the day will come when you'll look in the mirror and go, you know what? You're okay.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice, it's a very empowering feeling. So yeah, I think that I feel like that's probably where we should end it. But Where can they find you? Where can all the fabulous ladies find
Sure.
you?
Probably easiest on Instagram, Do Divorce Right. I do have the website, dodivorceright.com. I've got the podcast, Do Divorce Right. So if anybody's thinking about doing divorce right, I'm your girl.
Absolutely. These will all be in the show notes, ladies. Please go over and give Becca some love. She's an amazing lady, someone I've known now for
18
12
months.
months. Yeah, 12 or 18 months. And I feel that's why I wanted her to come back. We did talk about, navigating the divorce at Christmas time, but I thought this was such an important conversation to have. So thank you so much for giving up your time in the day to come and hang with me.
So good to be here. Thanks, Jen, for having me.
Okay, I'll see you all next time, lovely ladies. Thank you. Bye. Hey, ladies, I created this podcast because I know we need more of it to help us bring back our pink and live our best lives. But guess what? We can't do this alone. So if you loved this episode, let's spread the word. Share it on your socials, send it to a friend, and don't forget to write us a review. By doing this, you become part of the movement to bring back your pink and inspire others to do the same. I'm incredibly grateful to have you in my world as we live life in full color and become our authentic selves. Together, we're unstoppable. Let's keep rocking and bringing back the pink.